It is Monday, June 15th, 2026, and this is The High Road, Logistics and Leadership. I'm Buck Reynolds, and I keep these gears greased and the drivers honest.
This is Dan Miller.
I'm Elena Rossi.
And I'm Jewel Sterling. We have a great show for you today.
Well, here's the deal. Yesterday, we were looking at that whole fuel illusion with LTL and whether that green corridor in Laredo was actually going to happen. But today, we're tracking a massive geopolitical shift that's got the whole energy market doing a double take.
Look, it's a packed episode. We've got maritime trade wars, AI scams that would make a hacker blush, and the absolute demolition of the standard routing guide. It's a heavy day on the desk.
Heavy and complicated, Dan. Actually, I suppose we have to start with the black swan event of the decade. You see, late last night, CBS News confirmed a preliminary peace agreement between the U.S. and Iran.
Finally!
Well, it's a 60-day ceasefire window, Dan. Pakistan apparently played the middleman for this Tehran-Washington Accord. And the big takeaway is that the Strait of Hormuz is scheduled to formally reopen this coming Friday, June 19th.
Exactly.
The U.S. is going to stand down the naval blockade, and in return, Iran gets access to about $12 billion in frozen funds as a show of good faith.
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, my retail clients have been holding their breath for this since February. So does this mean we can stop paying those massive war risk surcharges immediately?
Actually, Jules, if I may, it's not that simple. Insurers are already warning that the normalization will take months. You have 600 vessels backlogged and a very real risk of naval mines still in the water.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I'm with the insurers on this one. You know, I was thinking about this back at my rose garden last week. You can't just flip a switch on a war zone. The end money reports are showing oil prices tumbling to 3-month lows today, but it feels like a head fake to me.
Look, Buck, the paper market is already celebrating like they just won the Rose Bowl. Brent crude fell nearly 5% this morning to settle near $83. Traders are pricing out the war premium and expecting 20 million barrels a day to just start flowing again. It's a huge relief play.
If the ships don't blow up, here's the deal. The physical supply chain is still knotted at the source. You can't move paper barrels through a minefield.
Exactly. Actually, Seatrade Maritime is reporting that security concerns remain high. Even if the shooting stops, the logistical hangover is going to be brutal. We are talking months to clear the congestion at the mouth of the Gulf.
It's sort of, bittersweet, right? I mean, the rates might drop, but the delays aren't going anywhere.
It's a mess. But you know, while we're looking at the Middle East, we've got a trade war brewing right here on the water. Dan, what is the word on these Section 301 vessel fees?
It's a total mess, Buck. Look, here's the play. The Lodestar is reporting that the transportation and ag sectors are facing a perfect storm of new fees on Chinese-built ships. It's the maritime phase of the trade war.
Wait, wasn't that suspended?
Technically, yes, suspended through November 9th. But a bipartisan group in the Senate just hit USTR Jamieson Greer with a letter demanding they reinstate those fees now. They're saying the suspension is just letting China dominate shipbuilding at our expense.
And if those fees come back?
Look, it's catastrophic. We are talking $1 million to $1.5 million per port call for the big container ships. For a shipper, that translates to about $600 to $900 per box.
Shut up.
No joke. It's basically a tax on everything we import.
The thing is, I spent 27 years behind a wheel, and I've seen some bad policy, But this takes the cake. You hit those ships with $1 million fee, and those costs are going to trickle down to the grocery store in about 5 minutes. My thing is, how are the independent guys supposed to survive that?
Actually, Buck, they might not. According to Indexbox, the wave of trucking bankruptcies continued through May. And if these vessel fees trigger a retaliatory move from Beijing, our agricultural exports are going to get slaughtered.
It's sort of a diplomatic game of chicken, right? We hit their ships, they hit our soybeans. It's that uncertainty premium all over again. And my shippers are already front-loading cargo just to beat the potential fees.
Bottom line, Jules, the cheap freight era is officially dead. If you didn't lock in your capacity during the Q1 lull, you're basically playing the market with a blindfold on right now.
Well, it's enough to make a guy want to retire to the Rose Garden early. But look, before we get into the main story about the routing guide collapse, I want to talk about the folks who make this show possible.
Right? Okay. Well, strategic logistics requires world-class engineering, and that's why this show is powered by the tech stack developed by Eric Christensen at Neural Network Media. Honestly, we couldn't handle the data flow without it. Support the architect behind the code by visiting our Patreon at patreon.com/Neural Network Media. You'll get a free trial and access to our daily briefing PDF, which is basically a survival guide for this market.
Worth its weight in gold, especially with what's coming next. All right, Dan, I think it's time for the numbers.
Let's do it. Now it's time for Diesel Dispatch, our Monday segment where we break down the fuel indices and the macro forces moving the pump price.
Well, here's the deal. The EIA just released the national retail average for on-highway diesel for the week ending June 15th. And for the first time in a while, it's a big number in the right direction. The national average is sitting at $5.21.
Down 14 cents!
Exactly. 14 cents down from last week. That's a breather for the guys on the road.
Look, it's the Tehran Accord impact hitting the pump, right? The paper markets are liquidating their long positions because of that Hormuz reopening news. Crude benchmarks like WTI are dipping toward $80. It's like a defensive stop in the red zone.
It sounds good on paper. But the thing is, the Gulf Coast is sitting at $4.78, while California is still bleeding at $6.94. My thing is, that 14-cent drop doesn't mean much when you're still paying nearly $7 in the Central Valley.
Right.
The other side of this is the distillate inventory. Even with the price drop, we're still 13% below the 5-year average. And refiners are running at 95% utilization just to keep up with the summer rush.
Bottom line, Buck, it's a fragile ease. We're seeing fuel surcharges dip slightly this week. But with the crude draws we're seeing, this ceiling is made of glass. If a hurricane hits the Gulf, or if those peace talks in Switzerland stumble, look, that 14 cents will be back on the price before you can finish your coffee.
You said it. And the export pull is real. U.S. refiners sent 54 million barrels of diesel overseas in May because Europe and Asia are starving for it. We're outbidding ourselves for our own fuel.
Exactly. Shippers shouldn't get comfortable. Lock in that contract capacity now because the volatility index is still screaming emergency. Diesel Dispatch. That's a wrap.
Vigilance, Dan. Vigilance is what we need. Actually, that brings us to a real horror story on the operations side. Have you all seen the Summer of Scams update from Verisk?
I heard the numbers were bad, but I haven't seen the deep dive. Tell me it's not just more guys stealing identities.
It's worse, actually. Cargo theft losses surged to $725 million last year. But the identity crisis has reached a new level with agentic AI.
Wait, agentic AI? Is that like a chatbot that steals trucks?
Actually, sort of. You see, unlike standard AI, these agents can actually execute tasks. They're acting as fake dispatchers, managing hundreds of loads simultaneously on load boards without any human help.
Oh, fantastic. So now the thieves have robot armies.
And they're using deep fake voice technology to replicate carrier dispatchers. TQL reported a spike in calls where the AI authorization sounds exactly like the real person to reroute a load to a secure warehouse that doesn't exist.
Wow.
And the target list is changing. Electronics are still number one, but auto parts have seen a 142% surge in theft incidents.
I mean, why steal a whole truck of TVs when you can steal the chips that make the truck run? The thing is, we're becoming so reliant on these digital platforms like Amazon Relay and Highway, but Highway reported blocking 8.5 million spoofed phone numbers this year alone.
That's, a lot of phone calls. It's sort of, it's terrifying for a broker. How are we supposed to build relationships when we can't even trust the voice on the other end?
You can't, Jules. That's the reality. My safety manual on the desk used to be about securing the padlock. Now I suppose it has to be about securing the login token. Actually, even that might not be enough if the AI is spoofing the carrier's whole identity.
Look, it's a game of shadows now. You're not just moving freight, you're defending a digital perimeter. Bottom line, if you aren't using biometric verification for your dispatchers, you're basically leaving the keys in the ignition.
Oh, man. That makes me miss the days of diesel and dirt, I mean, at least back then you could smell a thief coming. Now they're just code. Well, speaking of shifts in the industry, let's get to the main event. Dan, the routing guide is basically toast, isn't it?
Oh, it's a total blowout, Buck. Look, here's the play. For the first time in years, the spot market has crossed above the contract rates on a national level. The great rebalancing is here.
I'm seeing it in real time. Shippers who had these paper rates negotiated during the 2025 lull, their carriers are just walking.
Exactly. We were tracking the Wells Fargo Investor Conference, and the management teams at Schneider and Werner, look, they're being open about it. The contract rates set a few months ago, well, they aren't holding.
The thing is, carriers have been taking it on the chin for 4 years while their costs went up 30%. I mean, eventually you're going to chase the money, but it's making the shippers' lives a living hell.
It's a mini bid surge. Instead of annual contracts, everyone is rebidding their books every 30 days. Actually, J.B. Hunt's Spencer Frazier is warning of a cumulative 20% rate hike over the next 2 years just to get margins back to a sustainable level.
It's like a high-stakes chess game, Buck. But the carriers have the queen now.
And Amazon is hovering over the board like a vulture. I mean, have you seen this ASCS rollout? They've opened their LTL network to all third-party shippers now. They're taking palletized shipments of 1 to 6 units. That's a direct shot at the heart of the LTL market.
Right? I mean, they're using the Relay app to offer full truckload-style visibility for a single pallet. If a shipper can't get their regular carrier to honor a contract, they're going to pivot to Amazon in a heartbeat.
I suppose. But Amazon only has about 30 specialized terminals. Actually, it's more of an asset-light backbone for now.
Doesn't matter, Elena. Look, when Amazon sneezes, the whole market gets a cold. XPO and Old Dominion saw their shares slip 5% just on the announcement. It's that AWS model being applied to the dock. Bottom line, if you aren't automated, you aren't competing.
I mean, It's the cognitive gap everyone's talking about. We've got quintillions of bytes of data coming off these trucks, but the humans can't make decisions fast enough to keep up with a spot market that's moving in minutes.
Which is why EK Solutions just launched that Omni TMS in Salt Lake City. They're building it on an AI-first infrastructure to handle dispatching and pricing autonomously. They're calling it hyper-automation. Actually, I suppose that's the only way to close that gap.
But, is it safe? I mean, if the AI is making the pricing decisions and the agentic AI is on the other side, well...
It's robots talking to robots, Jules. Here's the deal. I don't want to be the one to tell a shipper his load is sitting in a warehouse because two computers couldn't agree on a 50-cent rate difference.
Look, it's the future, Buck. Like it or not. Whether it's hydrogen fuel cells at the ACT Expo or autonomous tech from Volvo, we are moving from record-keeping to proactive decision-making. The road is changing, right?
It's changing, all right. But it's still asphalt underneath. Well, that's all for today's High Road. We covered peace in the Gulf, trade wars at the dock, and why your next carrier might be an algorithm.
Stay agile, folks. See ya.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Keep it between the lines. Stay safe out there.